Hello, Instagram and YouTube. We are live with
Hello.
Kedrick and Rachel. We made it. We had
We
some
did
technical
it.
difficulties because I left a tab on and there was this crazy echo and I had no idea where it was coming from, but I found it. And so here we are. We're late, but thank you for bearing with us. We are the three here. I'm Maggie. I'm the Director of Communications with Clowns Without Borders. And Rachel is here. She's our program manager. And Kedrick Soniello. I please correct me if I mispronounced, but Kedrick likes to go by KK.
Yes, Khekhe.
KK. And And do you want to tell the story about how you got that name? How did that happen?
Uh, so in the community where I grew up, where I was born and bred, it's called Makokova. In this community, there is a guy who has same name like me. His name is Ketrick. So his second name nickname was Khekhe. Automatically, that name came to me because we had like the same first names. So he was Ketrick, Khekhe, and they were like, "Ah, you're Ketrick, so you're also Khekhe," and then that's how the
Oh,
and from then on, yeah, it was like
that
Keke,
was
Keke.
so
And if they
nice.
meet the guy, we would call each other Keke, Keke, my name, my name.
What a great connection.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that connection.
Uh-huh.
Oh, very nice. So I want to tell our audience all about you, like introduce you more formally so people know. Um, Kedrick has been with us for the last 2 years for our Zimbabwe tours, and he will be leading once again in June. We have early June, another Zimbabwe tour. Um, Kedrick is an award winning theater actor, clown, and teaching artist. And he holds certificates from Del Arte International, Zimbabwe Theater Academy, and School Playwrights and Actors Academy. And he has a unique focus on movement, and he brings, and it's so true, a captivating presence. And and this comes through if you've seen any photos from our Zimbabwe tours. Just the beautiful expressions come right through. And I hope you've all had a chance to see some of our photos from Zimbabwe, so you know what I'm talking about. And actually, Rachel Rachel was on our last Zimbabwe tour, and I'm hoping that you all will get to share some experiences from that tour. And I would love to just kick it off by saying, would you share a moment from that tour that has stayed with you? In either in both Rachel and Kedrick.
You want to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think yeah. I think the moment that stayed with me was, it wasn't really a good one. I always get these moments. It wasn't a good one, but it was a performance at a high school. These are teenagers, and these teenagers, we are here to perform for them. They they didn't know what we were bringing. So at first they agreed to come and gather like around the performance space where we were supposed to perform. And then like we introduce ourselves, we talk to them, and then we begin the performance. Maybe 5 minutes into the performance, they start walking away. And like one of the clowns was right into their number. And I could feel the pain that I'm here to share the joy and bring laughter to them, but they are walking away. I was like, why should I do this? I wished at that moment I'd never like gone to the high school, and maybe I'd gone like into the community or performed for refugees in the community, or the primary school and the early childhood school. So that moment, it stuck with me because I always think about it, like the challenging moments that we face as clowns when we go to these places. They always sit with me, especially the challenging ones. But not to say there were no good moments. I know Rachel will share a good moment.
Do you remember any of that happening, Rachel? Yeah.
Because I think every saw really loved it. And I saw schoolers want to stay and watch the show, but they were so too cool for school.
They were too cool for school.
Yeah.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit. I can't hear you.
Oh no.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Before
No, I can't hear you. Oh. Oh, darn. Well, and oh, I think Rachel's going to try to come back. And can you hear me, Kedrick or KK? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We
Okay,
lost Rachel,
awesome.
right?
Yeah, we lost Rachel. Here she is. She's coming back. Rachel,
I'm sorry.
you're here. We can hear you now. Oh, it's really in and out. Yeah.
Oh,
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 darn.
Oh.
We just hear little bits. Well, so KK, do you want to talk about? I know you studied at Del Arte, and I know there is a connection between the Zimbabwe Theater Academy and Del Arte. And
yeah.
actually, I know that you and Rachel met at Del Arte.
Yeah, that's
Isn't
true.
that
That's
correct?
true.
And could you talk more about how things kind of came together as far as the relationship between CWB and Zimbabwe Theater Academy?
I think before I went to Delate. That's when I met Lloyd Nikadzino, and then got to know more about Zimbabwe Theatre Academy. So, but when we were at the academy, we didn't really dive deep into learning about clown, you know. So in my class, I was the only one who was chosen to go and further my studies at Delate International, and this was in 2019. But I studied with Zimbabwe Theatre Academy in 2017, 2018 class, and then they selected me to go and further my studies 2019, 2020 to at Delate International. That's when I met the beautiful soul, the fine clown Rachel. And also I think Lloyd already knew Zimbabwe Theatre Academy. I think they had a relationship with Clowns Without Borders, but it was only when I went to Delate where I studied clown, and then I began to also try to see how I'm going to use clown in Zimbabwe, and just like organization that work with
Oh,
clown.
so
And
you
I I knew of Clowns Without Borders South Africa, so I didn't
Ah,
Without Borders USA. So I was willing, like when I finish the training, I'll go back and try to connect with Clowns Without Borders South Africa.
excellent. So it's so interesting. I hear you say that you didn't study clown until Dall'Arte in
Yeah, yeah.
2019?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Oh, that's incredible because it seems what the videos and that we've seen of you, it's just it seems like you've been doing it a lot longer. I would have never have guessed that you only started studying clown since 2019. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Also, when I went to Delate, I'm really grateful. I always mention like this. I'm grateful of Delate International and the training and that opportunity, because I discovered that I am a clown. I discovered that I can do all these things, and I even started to learn juggling when I was now studying clown. There was this friend of mine, Sean Lang. He introduced me to juggling, so this was something that I was discovering when I was at Delate International, and I was sad though that we did our training on Zoom during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right.
We never got to train down in person, So
Oh.
but because I was able to interact physically with other clowns that I stayed with in the house.
Have you kept in touch with a lot of the students that you were working with at that time?
Yeah, we have a WhatsApp group. We're always talking. Rachel, we're always talking, and some of them we always plan. Sometimes they want to visit Zimbabwe, or I want to take my theater to them. Some are in Denmark, the others in USA. Last year we were in USA, we were doing this um, exchange kind of a thing, and they were helping us look for spaces to share our talents, to teach. So we feel like I feel like we're still connected. We're still one family.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Rachel, do you want to jump in and talk about maybe you can try again and tell me the what really stood out for you from last year's tour?
Love to. I think my favorite was at Tangagara Refuge. We were there. We were at a we were celebrating the day of
Yeah,
Mm.
Can you see now?
yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Yes. Okay.
maybe
Okay.
it's just an adjustment on the camera. Yeah. Okay, that's so much
Maybe
better.
I think because I'm on my phone, maybe the
Oh.
microphone got covered.
Oh.
Yes. So my favorite moment was during the Day of the African Child. So we were in Tangogara refugee camp while that celebration was happening, which was really, really special. So we got to be part of the parade that went all around the community, and we got to play with everybody. And we walked for about a mile, maybe two, something like that. And it's a really, really big area. And I had my puppet out, and he's a very purple, fuzzy, lovable puppet, and he blows a lot of kisses, which was really sweet. And there is a little boy that was following us the whole time during the parade, and he started blowing kisses at Shemp, at my puppet, and just loved it so much that we were blowing kisses at each other for like a mile straight. Just walk, he just like
Oh.
stuck to us and
Oh.
blowing kisses to us the
Oh,
whole
sweet.
time, and it was so, so sweet and precious. And I'll never forget that because I think he felt so connected to us, and many of the children were just following us the whole way and sticking with us.
Oh, fun.
But that just magic moment between puppet and child was, it's, you just can't make that up. And that I loved all the shows at Tangogara, especially the shows with the kindergartners They
Mm.
just swarmed us with hugs. And they like stood in a line waiting their turn to squeeze our noses. I remember that after the show because they were so small and little, and we often we'll show them, that we're just people wearing noses, so we don't scare anyone. So they like to, I remember these little people, I have a picture of it, just coming up, so curious and gently squishing my nose and just taking turns. And it
How
was just
fun.
made me so happy. Yeah.
Uh,
How fun. Oh, and um, I would love to hear more about the connection that you had with the refugee camp, Tongagara refugee camp, and the community connections. Like what does that look like? Can you talk about that at all?
KK knows a lot about that because he's been there 3 times now, or this is his third year. So
yeah.
I'll let him talk about the tweens and the community organizations there.
Uh-huh. I think on that one, Maggie, it has been, it answers also like how Zimbabwe Theatre Academy has managed to really like grow with this project and make it like really an impactful project. Zimbabwe, because from the ambassador now knows us. He knows the faces, the ambassador at the camp. He knows when these guys come, he's always like, you guys are free. You just come here once and never come back to my office because this is your home. You're always here. You know where you should go. And even the teacher, I think it's I don't know, she is like an education officer, who's working mostly with schools at the education at the refugee camp. They also like they're always looking forward to having us. They're always asking us, you should do this more like throughout the whole year and not once. And from those offices, these are like the higher offices at the camp. When we go into the communities, the teachers, they still remember the games. I remember like last year when we went with Rachel and the other clowns, they were still singing a song from the game that we played with them from the first time when I went to the camp. So we
I
were
love
playing this game. It's called Mosquito, Mosquito, Catch It. Mosquito, Mosquito, Catch It. Mosquito, Mosquito, Catch It. So they still remembered when they saw me, they were like, Mosquito, Mosquito, Catch It. They, they,
They've been playing all year.
yeah, they
It just rolled off their tongue because they've been playing it.
also, I felt I was no stranger to this place. I'm part of this family. I'm part of these
Mm,
people. This home. I can always come here anytime because they now
mm,
know me. So these are
mm,
the teachers. Usually for the children, it's hard because there is so many of them.
mm,
It's hard to remember them, but I think some of them do remember us, but it's so many of them, and I think they always, there is always a new person who's arriving at Tongogara.
mm, mm.
Yeah. But also when it comes to the youth, the teenagers, the young adults like us, we have the group that Rachel was mentioning called Twins. These they've been really helpful in terms of showing us spaces for performing, in terms of like accommodating us, showing us places to eat our lunch, um, giving
Mm,
us the help that we need at the camp. So they've been really helpful. So I think just having been there once and going for the second time, and this year going for the third time, um,
mm,
really it makes everything easy to work with. Of course, we don't know what to expect for this year, but we know where we are going. The people know us. They even expect us to come back. So this has been like it's really helpful to be known at the camp, and it has helped us grow as an institution. And I think with CW USA, it's now known at the camp.
mm. That's amazing. And with the Zimbabwe Theater Academy, and I is there any opportunities that you know about that is separate from Clowns Without Borders, in which a group will visit the Tongogara refugee camp?
No, the academy hasn't like had anything that they do. But we've been talking about, this is us, especially the clowns that have been part of this project, the Zimbabwean clowns. We've been talking of how do we continue to go back there as the Zimbabwe Theatre Academy, to give laughter to these kids, and also like even because some of them they're always asking for red nose, for our red nose when we were there. So we're like, how do we go there to capacitate the youth with skills, like skill share in clowning, so that they can always remain there, clown for each other. Because when we are there, whatever we do, the kids try to. When they see us juggling, they try to juggle their stones. When they see us being silly and funny to each other, they also want to be silly and funny. So why not share this skill with the youths, the young people, so that they can always like take it upon themselves to bring joy. And I think it can be therapeutic to the youths that we will be sharing. And this is the group, the twins. I think they are able to really do that because they work with young people that are in just like assisting them with education, assisting them with anything that they need, whether it's skills, but they do this. And these are seniors, that are willing to share with young people. It's only that they don't have the skills that we have, that I feel we should also share. So this is the role that the academy should play. So we always share these ideas with the academy. Hopefully,
Yeah,
they can
yeah.
also take us there.
That's really interesting. And if ever CWB wanted to emphasize the professional development of some youth, whether it's
Uh-huh.
through the Zimbabwe Theater Academy or through an organization like the Tweens,
Uh-huh.
what could you imagine that could look like if CWB were to support some
Uh,
professional development?
I believe, with my experiences at the camp, I've seen they have like vocational training centers, and these vocational training centers are giving the youth opportunities to learn. Maybe it's hairdressing, or it's mechanics, or it's carpentry, engineering. But I've never like seen something that deals with arts and culture.
Mm.
Why? When we went to the International Day of an African Child, I saw a traditional dance that was West African. I don't know whether it was from DRC, but the kids were dancing this traditional dance. So I was
Mm.
wondering, when do they practice? Where do they do it? Do they have a space for them to really explore, in terms of
Mm.
their culture, and like continuing to really dive deep into the artistic works that they might wish. And there was one guy also who wanted, like, he really wanted so bad for me to leave the red nose. And this was like an older guy, maybe in his 40s, 50s. He really wanted the red nose. So I was like, okay, if we have people like this, so we can have an arts and culture center where these kids go there, they learn. If it's us clowns, we know when we go for our tour outside the performances, we are now going into that arts and culture center. We are sharing workshops, whatever we want
Mm.
to share. But I think it's mostly the arts and culture center at
Right.
the camp. It's something that I've not seen. And I think it's possible to have that, because they have the
Absolutely.
spaces.
Absolutely. And we're talking about a community of, isn't it about 23,000 people in Tongagara refugee camp,
Uh,
correct? And I would say, if it's anything like other other well, we know that 40% of all refugees are children, right? So I'm guessing it's probably about the same proportion in Tongaggara. Very, very interesting that that you don't see anything like that currently, and that you see a need for that. Thank you for sharing, KK.
You're welcome.
Rachel, I'm going to let you jump in here,
Ah,
and I'm also, while I check the Instagram for chats, why don't you guys
absolutely.
continue
Oh my
for
goodness.
questions?
Absolutely. KK, I think you are such a prolific artist. You also make your own work that is very important. And you tour that around the world. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind talking about how your sort of artist self and your activist self, how they come together and in your work.
Um, I I think personally, I'm one individual who always wants to have a sense of purpose. Doing things that are bigger than me, and this is what I've seen usually with the theater that I do. Even currently, where I am, we're doing theater for development. Advancing the youth civic participation. These things are really bigger than me, and they also like make a positive impact artistically and like on a personal level. So trying to bring that individual self, to do things that have got a purpose, to leave an impact in my communities has really like driven me and influenced also the kind of work that I do, the even like the relationships that I begin to create now. It's through the work that I've done. I know you also know, like, we try to do
Mm,
therapeutic theater forms of um but not focusing mostly on children. This is like, give for example, the show that I tour with Zandezi. We're talking of incarceration and justice. So these are the things that I feel as a society we should always be talking about them, because some people are always facing injustices. Some people are denied their right to play, or so it has driven me to really like um, um, continue doing this work, and I feel like the work now is kind of influencing my personal growth. It's no longer like the other way around, where it's Khekhe influencing the work that it does, but the work that I do, it's kind of influencing and bringing the growth in me.
oh, that's so beautiful. And do you have any other shows or work coming up?
Currently, I don't have, because I'm working with a non-profit organization full time. So, but in this profit organization, we're a non-profit organization. We did recently we did a show with the Ministry of Women Affairs in Zimbabwe. We were doing a show on gender and climate change. So we were talking mostly
Mm.
on how energy affecting women and children in Zimbabwe, especially the fossil fuels. So this is the work that the organization I'm working with is doing, work to do with gender, climate change, peace building and stuff.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
it's
What's
it's 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 like
Mhm.
I I and also with this organization we have a mainstream show that we are working on, and this mainstream show working mostly on
Oh,
of creating and script writing the show.
oh wow. Is it frozen?
I think it's
I'm
a little
looking at
frozen.
No,
Oh, KK?
yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
Can you
now we
hear
can
me?
hear you. Now we can hear you. Do you mind going back about 20 seconds and repeating? We missed it.
Yeah. Oh, so Rachel had
No.
asked if I any work that I'm currently doing, like new work in terms of theater, and I was sharing about the work that we are doing at the organization that I'm currently with. We did a show recently with the Ministry of Women Affairs, and we were doing a show on gender and climate change, uh,
Mhm.
how renewable energy and energy is affecting women and children in Zimbabwe. You know, the fossil fuels and trying fuels to clean energy.
Awesome.
Yeah, that also makes me think of we in Zimbabwe, we sort of serve three communities, and the second one that we go to is Chimanimani, and they've experienced a really horrible cyclone that has displaced them and has um, deprive them of many of their resources. And I was curious if you could talk about the differences between performing in Harare, Chimanimani, Tungogara, because there's kind of three kinds of displacement happening there. What you notice, what's different, what's the same.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. But you know, I was thinking of this earlier, like before I came into this life. I felt, you know, the difference is it's there with Chimanimani and Tongogara. These are people that have been in a crisis. You know, they have lived some tensions in their lives. But in Harare, the tensions are there, but it's not like caused like by natural disasters or war. It's actually caused with by poverty, you know, unemployment, and these are like I think Zimbabwean issues. Whereas in Tongogara, it's not like a Zimbabwean issue that's affecting those people. So I felt like um, the performance for me, it kind of hits the same, like it's emotional because I feel like these people are on like in a crisis, but the crisis is a different, it's a different, you know, it's different. But with Chimani Mani, it becomes emotional because we see the effects of the cyclone, like physically the geographical location. They can point and say that's the effect of the cyclone. That's, and then it hits you also when you're performing. Whereas in Harare, yeah, you know, you can see people are living in poverty, but you know, just being there, you see they have food, they have this, they have shelter, you know. You can't really sometimes pinpoint some of these things, you know. With Tongokara refugee camp, also I feel if the camp was really like strict in terms of security and like where we have a closed space, it was going to feel different. But now it still feels like I'm in Zimbabwe, I'm in Chimanimani, you know, because the camp is just so open. You cannot tell whether you have entered the camp or you are outside the camp. You know, it just feels like one. Sometimes you might be talking to people, a Zimbabwean community, but they live in the circles around the camp, you know. So it doesn't feel like a camp, it feels like a unified thing. But I guess with Chimanimani, it's hard because of the geographical location. I don't know if it's making sense.
Absolutely. I know that Chimani Mani is in a national park, or it's sort of they're a place of natural beauty, and it's really different elevation and really different sort of communities, lots of homesteads and like agricultural communities, versus the Democratic Republic of Congo community that's in Tangogara. And I was also curious. Uh, how it was for you performing sort of we had to make a show that could be performed for anyone in any language, and I was curious how it was for you, because for a while you could speak the same language as the children, but when we moved to Tangogara, there was a language barrier. And I was curious how that was for you. And I remember it being really joyful for you, sort of speaking to all these people and hearing all these different languages everywhere. It was pretty magical.
I think I don't know how you feel also when you like, that language barrier. Uh, it's what comforts me mostly. I think it's like I see a black child, and then I want to learn their language. I'm like, oh, this is Swahili. I know some words of Swahili. So the only thing that I can do is to keep on repeating like some same statements, hakuna matata, or jambo, just saying hi, which is silly and funny for them because they'll be like, oh, this guy, he acts as if he knows our language, and then but he can't go further. It's kind of challenging and fun because I also want to learn their language. As an African, I'm like, when I get to visit DRC outside, outside Clowns Without Borders, or outside just going to do any other project, how am I going to communicate with the people there if we are not using English? So it's always challenging but fun to learn. I remember this other time I was asking like a child from the ECD to teach me how do I say I love you in Swahili, and they were sharing with me, so just getting to learn from them, to give them also a sense of purpose, to give them a sense of belonging. It's always beautiful where they share their language, they get to speak their language also. I think it's a beautiful moment. It's a beautiful moment.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
Did you want to ask the next question, Maggie, or I can keep
No,
going?
I'm having trouble because I don't see any questions, and I don't know if that's because there aren't any or if I just don't see them.
Oh, that's
Oh, wait, let's see here. What is your favorite moment of doing Clowns Without Borders? That's one
Mm,
question.
do you want to answer that, KK? Or I can go
eh,
first, or you?
I think you already talked about it. The celebration that we did, the day of an international, the day of the day of an African child.
Yeah,
Mm.
awesome. Here's another question. Kedrick, what is the
Yeah.
best part of wait. That's the same question. So we've got lots of people.
I
The
can add
best
to
part.
that.
How about we change it a little bit? Oh, are you
I just wanted to add to that because I remember the Day of
yeah.
the African Child was so special for KK. If it's okay if I can repeat what you said to us when we were there. Um, I remember KK was saying, this is so special because I'm an African child. And because
Mhm.
I feel like I'm celebrating myself, at all ages, with these
Yeah.
children. And I remember that made me feel so emotional because I think as clowns, that is what we're doing is we're celebrating our inner child, and we're celebrating that with
Yeah.
other children. So when we play with children, we're really sharing our child self with those children, and we're on this sort of equal playing field. We're no longer adults playing with children. We're just all children in the same space. The parents become children. We find our joy together, that childlike joy. And I think we all felt that on the Day of the African Child because uh, we really felt that shared celebration, that shared joy. And it's so beautiful. Do we have any other questions in the chat?
To add on to that, Rachel, uh, that day I don't know where I got the energy to clean from morning to like I think we clowned for like more than 8 to 10 hours without
Mm.
having to rest because the event happened from morning up to around 3 o'clock, and we were not part of the program, but we were in the program. because at any point you would just see a clown stepping in, going into the middle and just dancing. I just had the energy to do this, like you said. I was celebrating myself. um I felt it, and even this year it was so special because even for this year I was pushing for the Zimbabwe Theatre Academy to incorporate that day on the tour so that we get to experience it again, because for once I felt Clowns Without Borders. These are the events that they should be part of. Also, even the audience members that were there, some of the young people, they were asking me, are you going to be there again for the refugee day, because it's happening next week? And then I was like, oh no, we're actually leaving soon. So I was like, even for this year I was pushing for those days to say, how do we incorporate our tour during those days when they celebrate those child days? We are also part of them, we are there with them, because it brings the whole of the camp together.
Mm, that's so true, so beautiful. And I think I remember I was so impressed with you, KK, as well, because not only did he perform with us, for our piece that we performed for the community, but he also jumped in to everyone else's performances, because it was like the kindergarten was performing, and the great grammar school, the high school, everyone was performing. And then KK's clown was so joyful, he would just jump in and dance and be a part of someone else's performance. And his clown was just like just wanted to be a part of it. And I remember thinking, like nobody else but KK could do this, could pull this off and connect with so many people all at once, and just become part of this community where you don't even speak the language. It just, you have such a universal, joyful clown. It's so special. And yeah.
I think also the special moment, when we did something, it's so fulfilling to hear maybe like 3,000, 4,000 people just having a unified laughter. You do something, all of them, they laugh at once. It was really, really fulfilling emotionally and psychologically. You feel that sense of purpose. You feel the positive impact that you are leaving at the camp.
Absolutely. I know
There's
that there was, oh yeah, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I know that this may have been some time ago, but there was a study that was done where they were in a scientific study where they studied people in the theater, an audience member, and they discovered that when you watch a play, that your heartbeats synchronize as you share at the same sort of joyful experience. And I like to think that our kids, that when we perform for them, that their hearts are synchronizing with us and with each other, and that we have this sort of coming together. It's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
I think it's important what we're always talking about, like not to really express our emotions in front of them, because they can also dive into that when they see us being
Mm.
emotional, because we also get overwhelmed with the impact of this thing. So it's really, yeah, when we are joyful, they're also joyful, and when we become sad in front of them, I think they would also become sad, because they don't want to see us sad. They want to see us smiling, being silly and funny all the time.
I think that's a muscle that I have developed over years of doing this work, of taking a breath, because sometimes a child is so beautiful and lovely, and an experience just moves you, and you want to cry, because it's so moving, this work. And it's so you have to it's a practice of breathing and putting that piece sort of to the back of your head, to the back of your mind, and staying focused on the play, and not letting yourself get overwhelmed by how moving the work is. Because I know that, like, you feel, yeah, you feel this impact. You feel how,
Yeah.
like, joyful everyone is, it takes a lot of practice to stay grounded, and remind yourself that you're the playmate right now, and then later you can be together as a group, as an ensemble, and share that sort of moving, those big feelings, and have a group hug. And it's so necessary to have other clowns with you to have those moments. But yeah, you're exactly right, KK. It's a lot of like sort of discipline, and stay in the clown, not come out, you know, and have your adult moment.
Here's a question that maybe for both of you. How has your perspective, and this is from Delarte International, how has your perspective changed since you began work with CWB?
KK?
Yeah. I was trying to process it. I wasn't expecting the question from my school. They're putting me back into class. Can you repeat it again, Maggie, while you
How
start
has your
processing?
perspective changed since you began work with CWB?
I think also this has to do with what I learned at Delate, you know, the perspective of, um, you know, volunteering. So I've had moments where personally I do volunteer to work with children with disabilities. Like we have children organization where these kids are learning about arts, but they don't have like professionals to teach them. So having gone to Delate and them giving me that task to say I have to volunteer a certain number of hours to give back to my community. This I began to implement it when I when I came back to Zimbabwe. It 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 just stuck with me, always not asking for money or wanting to be paid doing something. So I think also it was amplified with my first tour with CWB. I came back home and I was sharing with those children organization, the Clowns Without Borders, bringing laughter to them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I want to say, but I hope it's making sense. Yeah.
I think for me, it's interesting. I've been working and as an educator, as an artist, with the refugee community for a long time in my own country. In Atlanta, I worked at the Global Village Project, which is a school for refugee girls, and our goal is to sort of bridge the gap in their education due to their displacement or due to the lack of education for girls in their country of origin, and to help them assimilate into American high school. And I, it's interesting. Like I thought I knew something about the refugee crisis, but then going to being so lucky as to go on all these tours for Clowns Without Borders, I I could not even begin to imagine how massive this crisis is, and how many children who deserve an ordinary childhood are experiencing these very adult issues. And I think it's easy to get overwhelmed, and I think my perspective shifted in that I remember, distinctly what it feels like to be there so temporarily and then to leave, and go back, to the US, or go back to London where I live now. And just the pull, the tug of wanting to be there with them, and this feeling of overwhelm, with the massive numbers of kids. And I think about all the time the kids that don't get to see us, Because we're only one, organization, and we need, money to send people there, or to fund clowns who are based locally, because we don't always send US clowns. We often just fund clowns who are based locally, and fund joy wherever and however we can. And I I think I just my perspective keeps going towards this, but there can always be more joy, and always be more sort of motivation to do this work. That it is so important, because I think we kind of can get trapped, thinking, oh, we're not, the UNHCR, we're not, we're passing out food or water, right? But this is an experience that they won't get from anywhere else, and it is truly so special, and is so necessary. And I just witnessed it over and over and over and over again. Each show we sometimes perform for thousands of kids, all at once, and it's so, I don't know if you feel this way, KK, but like, my goal when I do a show is to try and make eye contact with every child at some point, to see them. And because that's all any of us really wants, right, is to be seen, and
Mhm.
to feel human, and feel that we matter. And I just hope that the world will keep supporting this kind of work, because it is so necessary. And I think I knew that before, but my perspective has changed, is that in that it's so much bigger. It's so much more necessary. That, like, what you can imagine in your home is even more vast when you go there. And I just hope that people, when they donate, when they partner with us, that they know that they can experience that massive impact. I don't know if that answers the question. Maybe.
Yeah. Add on also, like, the shift really comes from CWB gives me an opportunity to go and perform at Tongogara. And funny enough, I didn't know there was a refugee camp in Zimbabwe. So it was only when I started working with Clowns Without Borders that I knew about it, and then I researched about it. And then after clowning and bringing joy to the refugees at the camp, I was like, no, I should not just do this for the refugees. I think that's the point that I was trying to drive into, like the children's organization, like privileged children's homes that I work with, where I felt there was need. Alone as an individual, it's either I'm sharing the skill with them, or I'm bringing joy to these underprivileged communities, people with disabilities, including everyone. And also the shift came from, I thought I was going to just be performing clown, but now I find myself also educating and being an instructor, sharing the skills of how you can also be find your funny, how you can also discover your clown. So I think that shift, from saying, Clowns Without Borders wants me to go and perform only, but now it's bigger than that. I want to also share these skills. This also drives to the point I was talking about, where if we establish an arts and culture center, who now is sharing the skills with those people? It's the clowns that we train at the Zimbabwe Theatre Academy. They now have, they train, they now know where they can go to share those skills. So it's that shifting from just performing, because Delate also, I think our 1 year training was more focused on performance creation, around that, but now how do we also share those skills that we learn, and it's CWB that has given us that kind of perspective.
That's a beautiful place to wrap up, because yeah, we couldn't have said it better. And this bigger picture, right? We can leave our people with that bigger picture. So thank you so much, Kedrick.
Very well.
KK. Thank
Thank
you. Thank you
you.
both for being here. Thanks for
Oh,
coming. joining
So
us.
wonderful to see you.
Thank
Khekhe
you,
is
everyone,
just
for joining us.
it's so nice to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for
everyone.
thank you everyone who's watching. We love you. We love bringing laughter and joy to Zimbabwe. Continue supporting us. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.